Black and brown students who do not see themselves as academic achievers. So the results that we see with the achievement gap is consistent with their thoughts and not with their ability. There are many Black students who see themselves as, who excel in sports. Why? Because they see themselves as athletes. We all act in agreement with who we believe we are. Self-image dictates the results we see in every area of our lives. It made sense to me when I started to see how self-image played in my life. In school growing up and in college, I was an average student. And as I reflected on my academic results, I remember thinking that I didn't see myself as smart, but I didn't necessarily think I was dumb. I felt like an average student. And because I felt like an average student, those were the results that I received.
Are you ready for an extreme makeover of the mind? With the producer and host of A Better You podcast, the transformational coach whose assignment is to challenge people to change, grow, and evolve into the individuals they were created to be. Here is Dr. Anthony McFarland, providing you with practical tools and wisdom for everyday life challenges, for you to win in life, relationships, and finances.
Hey guys, welcome to the ABU podcast. Anthony McFarland here. As always, I'm excited, especially when it comes to interviewing leaders as well as entrepreneurs, business moguls, as well as authors. And I have a double header for you today. I have a very accomplished businesswoman who just recently even attended one of our mastermind events. And I'm telling you, you're going to be blessed by my guest today. Made a big impact in the educational arena. Shawn Brown Broomfield is the founder and executive director of Pasadena Rosebud Academy Charter School. She was called to the field of education after receiving her bachelor's in economics. Ms. Broomfield has an educational practitioner for over 25 years and continues to serve as an educational leader, colleague, and mentor to many. She is a proud mom of two amazing children, and she currently resides in Southern California. So help me welcome to the ABU platform, Miss Shawn Brown.
Well, hello. How are you today?
Good. Been looking forward to having this time with you. And again, I think I mentioned it in the beginning. You attended the mastermind that we just did, and I hope that it was a blessing to you.
It was. I was very inspired after leaving. So thank you so much for having me there. You did a great job, and you really got my New Year started off to a great start, and
Awesome.
I look forward to more.
Yes. I've been kind of a part of your storyline with your school because a lot of our children have attended your charter school over the years. And so I know what a phenomenal educator as well as president of a charter school you are. But for the audience's sake, let's talk about who Shawn Brown is. Who is Shawn Brown?
Well, Shawn Brown, I am, first of all, I'm a child of God, but I am a mother of two. I am an educator, author, and a professional development coach.
I love it. Professional development coach. How long have you been now? I know that you've been in the educational space for some years now. How long have you been a professional coach?
So I just got into that a couple of years ago. So I'm actually moving into both personal development and professional development. And it's really important to understand that personal development is the new professional development. And I'm really stepping into that arena where we're starting to look at the self so that we can become overall better for everybody we encounter.
Hashtag a better you.
Yes.
I love it. Let's talk about your journey to establishing charter schools, the charter school, phenomenal charter school that you have located in Pasadena, California. I love one of your quotes, which says, "Purpose-driven educators are intentional about creating great schools." I love it. I love it. I love it. Especially within, of course, we know that your school is open to everybody, all ethnic groups, but especially within the African American community, people of color. We know that education is so important. And a lot of our children, unfortunately, within public schools, have not been afforded educational programs like yours. So let's talk about your journey. What made you go into the charter school?
Well, I started out as a teacher, and believe it or not, I started out in economics. I was a business major, and so I kind of fell into the field of education, and it kind of ended up being my purpose and my calling. And so as I was working in the public school system and I was doing middle school, I found that there were a lot of students who were coming to me who were reading below grade level, like 2 and 3 years. And I knew that they didn't have any disability, but I knew that there were gaps in their education. And because I became so passionate about it, I knew that I wasn't able to affect change in a larger district. So I started to think about how I could branch out and do something where I could set students up with a really strong foundation at the earlier ages so that then they could transition and be lifelong learners. And so that's how my journey began. And that's how I ended up starting the charter school.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's talk about your new book, Purpose Driven School. I love the title of it.
Thank you.
And if I'm correct, it's a book series which supports the implementation of business practices as well as personal growth and professional development that's necessary to create great schools. So let's talk about your new book.
Yeah. So this book kind of incorporates all that I've learned over the years as an educator, over 25 years of, knowledge, wisdom, and practice that I've gained, not only as a teacher, but then I went into literacy coaching and then starting the school. So I have a range of experiences in education. And because I'm always reflective on my practice, I've been able to capture everything that I've learned along the way and pretty much put it in a book so that we can start to look at how we can start to create great schools. And again, the book does include practices and procedures that schools need to implement in order to create great schools.
So, in essence, what you've done is you've given people, I'm big on blueprints, you've given
Yeah.
educators the blueprint for starting a school and implementing certain practices to make sure that they have a solid school. Is that correct?
Yes, and it doesn't have to be a school that you're starting from scratch. If
Okay.
you have a school and you could be doing well or you could be doing poorly, flatlining, whatever range you are within the school trajectory, implementing these practices will help you move towards creating a great school, and that's the ultimate goal.
Okay. And so it really becomes just a tool for as well as strategies to assist people in really creating any organization.
Yes.
That's awesome. I like something else that when I was reading about your purpose driven school, the book specifically, and you just talked about how education plays a major role in sustaining progress of not only our country but the world, and how now is the time to make the commitment to educational excellence. And on your journey, dealing with teachers, of course, and then dealing with parents, why do you think that's such a challenge within our community, within our educational construct, with educators, not embracing the spirit of excellence, but the importance of making sure these kids get educated, to the parents understanding it's their responsibility to get involved and be a part of this educational process versus just sending their kids to school for you all to do the work. I know that you guys engage your parents. So why do you think it's a challenge on every level?
Well, for several reasons. One, when you're dealing with a particular public education, it's a free product. It's a free service. And typically when something's free, people don't value it as much. And so that's part of the reason. But then we look at when you're dealing with public education, you're getting people from everywhere. And so you're dealing with all these different people, different cultures, different childhood traumas. So you're getting everybody, everything, and everything that goes along with the people that are coming to the arena of education. And so you just get a wide range of things. And then when you look at students of color, there's always been a fragmented relationship with schools because of the history of racism and in schools. So there's this history where there's this lack of trust, and there's a variety of reasons. And so you don't get the involvement that you would necessarily get if it was something that you were paying for. And education just gets a bad rap, and that's something that we have to change. We have to improve the ideology or what people believe about education. Education needs to become a premier industry. It is a
Yes.
part of social order, and everybody goes through it. And so we just, as a nation, have to start thinking about education differently and valuing educators and what education means in our society, both socially and economically.
I've heard some of your students at certain community events that I've hosted. We've been together at, you sponsored some, and I love it when they come up and they address the audience and say who they are, and they talk about Rosebud Academy. I think it's important that people hear your mission, and they articulate it so well. I'm so proud of the kids that are bold and they'll come up and express the vision, the mission of Rosebud. Can you share that with the audience?
Well, the vision of Rosebud Academy is to develop well-rounded critical thinkers who will impact the world. And so a big part of that is ensuring that our students are critical thinkers. So when you see our students, they are going to speak in complete sentences. They are going to look you in the eye. They are going to engage with you in a way that shows their confidence and shows that they are a part of the conversation and are actively thinking about what's happening within that conversation so that they can start to understand.
In our academy, we do an annual academy called Delta, Developing Elite Leaders of Tomorrow. And when it comes to life skills, because we focus on life skills, one of the things within our community, and again, it's something nationwide that's really needed, is for our children to be taught life skills, which then empowers them to be rational thinkers and be able to analyze and make better decisions because they're equipped to as adults. And when we think about critical thinking, it's that ability to analyze facts objectively and then form judgments as, again, to make better decisions and be more effective in the decisions that they make as they learn how to solve problems even for themselves. With that, I love the mission of your school and how you changing kids' life. I want to go back briefly. What led you to this field? Especially, you started off in one area of study and then you switched all the way over to education.
Well, it was a divine switch. So growing up, I was pretty much kind of like a free-spirited person. And so I traveled, I spent a year in Spain when I was in college. And like I said, I majored in economics, not because I necessarily wanted to go in economics, but because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I had taken an economics class and I loved it. So I said, hey, let me just go that route. And I was in the banking industry. And once I graduated, I had a friend who had just kind of mentioned, you should try substitute teaching. And, again, I'm a free-spirited person. And I said, you know what, I'll give it a shot. If I don't like it, I'll come back to the bank. They like me here. And so I just tried it out and it just turned out to be my passion and purpose. And I haven't been able to leave since. And so I was driven there divinely because I would have never gone into education.
Wasn't on your radar.
Oh, wasn't on my radar, would have never even considered it had somebody not asked me, and me being free-spirited and just saying, what's the worst thing can happen?
So because one of the highlights of this season's podcast is pivots. What was that moment? What happened for Shawn Brown to say, you know what, I have to be a part of the solution. It's now time for me to start my own charter school. What happened for you to take that leap? Because that's a leap from being an educator to now owning and operating your own charter school. At the time you started, if I recall, it was over
2007. So yeah.
Yeah, it was some time ago. It wasn't popular. It was something that was new and an option that they had opened up, for families. And so what was that moment? What was that aha moment that you had?
So, and it wasn't, I didn't even know if it was an aha moment. When you are fortunate to find your calling and passion in life, there's just this driving force that you cannot stop. And so God just put it on my heart, and he would not let me let up until I was moving forward to do what he called me to do. And so it was just this nagging thing that would not allow me to do anything else but what I was called to do. Regardless of, I came across a lot of obstacles and things like that, but just kept going forward, and any obstacle that came in my way, God just moved them, and just kinda have to, and that's the only way I can explain it, and it,
Yeah.
I think people who are driven by passion and their purpose, they
Yes.
understand that it's just something you just gotta do, and you can't not do it.
Yeah, I always say when purpose and passion meets, it births a baby because a lot of people have passion, but it's not tied to their purpose.
Right, exactly.
And then there are individuals who have purpose, but they're not necessarily passionate about it. But I believe when it's divine purpose, there's this innate organic passion that comes with it. And when the two collide, something beautiful is birthed. And I like within your series with your new book, it's a series. And one of the things one of the components of the series is purpose driven journal, where I think you have three areas of focus: reflect, evolve, and inspire. Talk a little bit about that and why people need to get that journal.
Yeah. So I have the book again to guide educators, and it's really for any educational partners that are really care about creating great schools. It's a navigational tool. But if we are going to affect change, we really got to do that personal development. And so we got to start to look at who we are as individuals, because how you treat somebody is not about who you are. It's not about who they are. It's about who you are. And so
Yes.
we have to really start to take a deep dive in who we are, what our thoughts are, what our emotions, how we feel. Because if we're going to evolve, it's really about self awareness and self reflection. And so the reflective journals are a really key component to the evolution of education and creating great schools. So it's a really, really important part of the work that I want to do moving forward.
Well, you're doing it. And I applaud you for doing what it is that God has called you to do because you're making a difference in children's lives, in families' lives, and you're really assisting families, whether they realize it or not, with creating generational legacy because education just gives you that edge. And you're really preparing children to succeed in every aspect of their lives. And you guys are doing a great job there at your charter school. What's next for Shawn Brown?
Well, continuing to do the work. I started off doing the work at the school site, and I'm continuing that work. That's a lifelong goal. But I know that the work that I need to do needs to be on a bigger platform. Education is so impactful in our world, and so we really do need educators who are looking to have a bigger impact on education and the world. And so I really want to ensure that my experience and my passion and the work that I do expands beyond Pasadena Rosebud Academy and into the larger society, and even nationally. So that's what I'm doing. And again, I want to focus on that personal development because I realize that that is where we are going to get our biggest impact. And that's when we're going to be able to evolve and start to change and see schools becoming great.
So an individual that wants to start an educator who wants to open their own charter school, they can get your book as well as can educators contact you? Do you
Sure.
counsel educators, coach educators on their journey?
Oh yeah, I love to coach anybody. I mean, when I was starting, I sought out individuals who had started schools, and they were willing to talk to me, give me some ideas, tips, strategies. And so yeah, I'm always open to that. So absolutely.
Awesome. Before we close, I call this the ABU Wisdom for Life and Business, and you get to kind of fill in the blank with the answer. So just as you're led. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. The good part is this is not a hot seat.
Okay.
It's a fun seat, and it just gives our listeners an opportunity to gain some wisdom and insight. I call it some gems for their life and how they go about doing life and business. What's the number one cause as to why you believe people fail in life or business?
Well, I think the number one thing is they don't have faith. And when you don't have faith, you get discouraged easily. And what people don't do is they don't persevere. They don't push past the struggles, the barriers, and any obstacles. And so that's why people fail. And a lot of times people are not willing to grow with their experiences so that they can be successful.
What's been the greatest thing you've learned on your journey of faith, specifically in the educational arena?
That when you are obedient to your calling, God will make a way.
Yes.
God will make a
That's
way.
one of my favorite scriptures says, obedience is better than sacrifice.
Yes.
Why? Because with obedience, scripture says, they shall eat the fat of the land. They'll experience the blessing of God. They'll experience everything that God not only prepared before time, but predestined for them to walk in. And so agree with you. Last but not least, now here's a big one. This may be a tough one for you.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
What's been the greatest challenge or obstacle you've had to overcome as a woman of faith, a woman of color in an industry that is predominantly
Yeah.
owned by others?
Yes. Well, I've had a lot of challenges. I think one of the biggest challenges really getting a team of people, like-minded people together to work towards the mission and vision of the school. And I have been fortunate to find a lot of people. And but as I get bigger, finding people does become a challenge. But, some of the challenges that I've had over the years have just kind of navigating the different personalities and the different people that come along with the job. As a leader, you got to deal with the parents, the students, the staff, and all of that can be challenging and overwhelming if you don't stay grounded and if you
Yes.
don't develop the tools that you need to ensure that you're able to manage all of those things. So, so there are a lot of challenges, but it's really hard to pinpoint one because you really, at least for me, I just move through these challenges and I deal with them and I move forward. But again, I think navigating people is really a huge challenge.
Yeah.
But again, I've come up with some tools and strategies to manage that.
We'll have to talk about that on another podcast one day. Yes. Yes. I mean, that's a real subject matter for business owners, for leaders. As you grow, people aren't necessarily growing with you, and people are there for a time, a season, and then you just have to learn how to manage all these different personalities, as you so eloquently stated. And it's par for the course.
Yes.
Yes, par for the course. Okay, so how do people get your book?
Well, you can get it on Amazon. Also, I have a website, thepurposedrivenschool.com. You can go there, Amazon. It's also on several other platforms if they are associated with Ingram Spark. So you can get it online at Target, Barnes and Nobles. I also have it on audio
Oh,
version
awesome.
of the book.
Oh,
So
that's good. Awesome, awesome, awesome.
that's on Amazon and also iTunes. Yeah, I have different versions, Kindle as well. So
Okay.
whatever your preference is, you can get it.
I love it. I
Yeah,
love it. I love it. You have a few on Kindle. The good news is your link will be
in
found
the
at the bottom of this podcast. So
okay, perfect.
people can access you, purchase your book, as well as contact you for counsel and coaching as it pertains to their field. So, Miss Brown, thank you so much for joining me on ABU. Again, I just want to applaud you and just let you know that you are doing a phenomenal job with
you.
children, with families within our community, as well as your vision nationwide as you stretch. Continue to stretch, because I see you as one who is unstoppable. And again, I'm looking forward to seeing more great things come from Shawn Brown.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your kind words. And thank you so much for having me here. And again, continue the work that you're doing, and we'll be connecting.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it first right here with Shawn Brown on ABU.
Thank you for tuning in to a Better You program with Anthony McFarland. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow on your favorite podcast platform so that you never miss an episode. Thanks for listening.